Welcome back to Trust in the Force. I'm your host, Vactor. I'm here with the coolest guy in the galaxy, Super Tim. Tim, how are you doing today?
Really great. Uh, Captain Vactor is on trial. Mad Captain Vactor is on trial today for this episode.
Yeah, I am. And I've got a lot to say about this episode. Episode 6 of Skeleton Crew, Zero Friends Again. Directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. This is the penultimate episode for season 1. We've only got, after this, Tim, 2 more episodes. Can
Two
you
more
believe it?
episodes. Two more episodes for 2025. It's
Ah,
what a way to end the year with a great episode of Skeleton Crew.
man, I can't wait to see how this all wraps up and ends. But before we get into that, let's talk about episode 6 of Skeleton Crew. Tim, what did you think of episode 6?
I think this was really good. Obviously, we knew going into this episode that the kids were going to be at their low point, but with the biggest surprise for me when on this episode started, because I thought that that Jod, once he got the treasure, he was going. If that's his real name,
Mhm.
once he got the treasure, he was going to go off and do his own thing, and then like maybe have some conflict there with the other pirates. But no, he didn't even make it off the ground before bounty hunter Merida caught up with him, and he's put on trial with all the other pirates, and that was a real surprise. I wasn't expecting like all of our characters to be at their low point in this episode, and so that was a real nice surprise. And seeing the kids really come together, and they've been kind of together like for the most part, but they really, I feel, this week really came together in a very strong way. And what better way to end the episode than Wim saying claims he's on the new ship? That was like okay, that's perfect. Like I didn't know the episode was gonna end there, but it did. I'm like, okay, that's perfect. That's a
This
wrap.
yes, this episode was another great um like heartfelt episode where the characters strengthen their bonds between each other. Like you said, they were at their lowest point, and I think this is going to be this was the valley, and now we're going up to the peak again for the next couple episodes. I think this is kind of cemented that they need each other, that they are friends. Like Wim and KB had that one moment where she was like, "Yeah, after this, I've got zero friends," and then he's just like not even giving it a second thought. He's like, "Well, you can be my friend. You could be our friend. Like, there's nothing stopping us from being friends. Like, I've already on this adventure with you." And when they came together and you saw KB's like the emotion, the reaction on her face, I had text you. I was like, "Well, it's another episode pulling at our heartstrings." Like
Oh
the
yeah, oh yeah.
this was the heart of this show. Like you could see the strength of the kids and having these child actors, you form this connection to them, you form this bond, and this is that element. Like on last week's episode, I talked about how it's everything is kind of gelling: adventure, mystery,
Mm-hmm.
comedy, and heart. And this was the heart. It was a little
It
bit
was
of
all heart. It
comedy.
was all heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was like this episode for sure. Episode 6, I feel like they wore their heart on their sleeves. Like this was exactly what I was enjoying about this whole season, and I really liked the connection and the camaraderie between the kids. So man, this was fantastic. And like you
And
said,
they earned that camaraderie, I
oh
think,
yeah,
because
a hundred
because
percent.
at the beginning of the episode they're like at each other's throats and fighting, and man, our little cute elephant boy,
Oh
um,
yes,
uh,
Neil.
Neil.
Yeah.
Why did his name escape me? I don't remember. I forgot this episode was even on this week. That's how out of whack I've been for the past couple of days.
Oh man.
Um, and so seeing Neil kind of like always be that that lovable heart. He's really the heart of this crew. He's the heart of these kids, and and it's like let's not fight, let's not do this, and let's kind of, and seeing them come together and rely on each other, because for the most part of this season they've kind of been relying on Fern, because Fern's
Hmm.
been taking charge. She's the captain. um And so it was nice to kind of see them rely on each other's strengths, and to see the also, I think another lovely part of this episode was to see the Onyx Cinder without its junky exterior.
Ooh, yes, yes.
I almost didn't recognize the ship after after it got rid of all that junk and all that mess that it's been hauling around for the past 5 episodes. And I texted you, it's like, is Wim driving a U-wing? Because that's what it looked like from the back. But no, it's the Onyx Cinder. It's looking good and it's ready for action.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to see more Lego sets and like merchandise and toys of all of these things. Onyx Cinder, the crew, and I was even thinking as we started recording today, the like the rides at Galaxy's Edge,
Mm-hmm.
going on an adventure and a destination, or even on Star Tours, like
Yeah.
being able to go to these locations. I want Skeleton Crew to be part of this Star Wars universe that like you and I enjoy when we're either watching shows, movies, animated things, playing with stuff, video games, and then like going to the parks themselves. Like I want Skeleton Crew to be a part of that. I don't want them
Yeah.
to bury it and say, "Oh yeah, Skeleton Crew." Kind of like I feel like what they're doing with Acolyte right now. I feel like they're
Yeah.
kind of like, man, Acolyte doesn't exist anymore. I want Skeleton Crew to be lasting. Like every year, we're going to be talking about Skeleton Crew and
Yeah,
how much we
like
liked these guys.
whether it's another season, they haven't said, and that's the thing with these Disney Plus shows, they don't say
Right.
what um like what when our new season is coming until after it's over. And so um and that's very reminiscent of how television has been. You know, you'd never find out if another season was coming until the season was almost over. But um I guess we've been um kind of I don't know. I guess say spoiled with, you know, everything's like, oh yeah, another season's coming, like before the first season even drops
Hmm.
with streaming.
Right.
It's like it's never. I mean, one of my favorite streaming shows, Cobra Kai. Like there was a huge like
Mm.
2 year gap between between seasons 5 and season 6, and didn't even know if a season 6 was coming. Like, is season 5 is it getting canceled? Is it going to be another Netflix casualty? But yeah, whether it's another season, I would really love to see like the worlds of Ad-Atten and all the different planets we've seen
Yes. Yes.
in Skeleton Crew in Star Tours. That would be great. Maybe see maybe see Jod as kind of that intermediary holographic figure that you see in Star
Ooh.
Tours, or even
Yeah.
him teaming up with Hondo and Smuggler's Run at Galaxy's Edge.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yes.
But yeah, I 100% agree. Um, I don't. I disagree with you that they're bearing the Acolyte. They're not 100% bearing it. It's still on every High Republic comic book. It still says a century before the Acolyte. So I mean, obviously the comic printing, you know, times is different,
Right.
and we've got 2 Acolyte centered novels coming out next year.
Ooh.
So and we'll talk more about those later in
Yeah.
another episode.
Yes.
So yeah, I would really love to see more of Skeleton Crew, seeing more of these characters, um, uh, seeing more of Jod. But speaking of Jod, great segue. I really loved his song that he sang in
Oh,
this
yes.
episode.
Yes. He has like a
Uh,
pirate shanty.
yeah, it was I really
Yes.
and I love this because, you know, we don't often see. I mean, like, we don't often get to see the Star Wars kind of underworld.
Hmm.
A lot of times, I mean, we've gotten glimpses of it in The Mandalorian, but
Right.
as more of the Mandalorian mythology kind of unfolded in that show, we saw less and less of it as it went on. And obviously, we see a lot of it in Star Wars Outlaws. We've seen a little bit of it. We've only seen glimpses, but I feel like Skeleton Crew is kind of like seeing more, like has brought more of the Star Wars underworld to life and
Ooh,
to light.
yes. Yeah.
And because I feel like that because you know, one of the central characters, Jod, is a pirate uh, who goes by many aliases, which, you know, harkens back to lots of great pirate stories. The pirate stories that are told are not often, the truth. And so it harkens back to, like things like The Princess Bride and Pirates of the Caribbean and like Treasure Island and things like that, where, these stories that are told. And that song just reminded me of that. And I really, really liked it. It was really cool. And we don't often get to hear Jude Law sing. So that was also a nice treat. So yeah, really good stuff all around in this episode. I and here's how I'm thinking, in the structure of this episode, in the series, the season so far, is we've got this episode, we've got, the kids, they're off on the next phase of the adventure, and as you have said often and often and often here on Trust in the Force, episode 7 is gonna be Jod's backstory. I think, that as his trial continues to unfold, we'll start to get more of that backstory, and probably the whole episode, most of the episode will be focused on it, and then in episode 8 we'll kind of wrap everything up and we'll pick up with the kids. That's how I figure that. I could be wrong, and I'll happily admit so. But that's how I feel things are going. Long-winded
Yeah.
answer.
I really want to see this episode 7. Like I want to see how all of his, there's so much mystery around him, especially regarding the Force, Jedi, those type of things. I want to see what specifically, you know, that we have going on with him, and then also where is he going to go in the next season of where once he, like I said, I don't think he's going to stay a villain. So once he kind of does the heart, like the Han Solo maneuver of like, all right, take it home, kid, like that. I want to see where Jod goes, in the finale here. So episode 7, I really want to get to his full story. So I really can't wait for this next episode. What also I can't wait for is SM-33. What happened? They just shot him and
I
they left him there.
I know, like when Jod got up to the surface and I heard like a voice, I'm like, SM-33? No, it was not SM-33. It was somebody else. But yeah, he was like not in this episode, and his absence was felt definitely.
Yeah.
I really missed him. And you talked about merchandise for Skeleton Crew, more
Ooh.
merchandise for Skeleton Crew. I want there to be a Black Series figure of SM-33, complete with rat in the eye. That's what I want.
Yes.
That's what I want. And I will buy it
Oh
without
man.
hesitation.
I can't
Um
wait.
I
Yes.
I think there's a Funko Pop of him, but
Ooh.
I don't know if it has the rat in it. But
Okay.
if it doesn't have the rat in it,
We need
um
to check on that. Yes.
yes, we do. We
Man,
do.
oh, the day there's so much like you again, you establish a bond with these characters and then you want to take them home with you. Like that's success for this show is do we want to spend more time with these characters? Do we want to have them on our shelves? It's just that it has succeeded for us. I think for us, we know that we love these characters already and we want to see them in future things. So they are just cooking on all cylinders.
There
And
is
we
no
had that.
SM-33 Funko Pop. That is a
Oh,
injustice that must be corrected.
yes. Come
That's
on.
awful. That's
Come on.
awful.
Get it to us.
Come
Um,
on, Disney, get it to us. I need it.
yes. I really also liked we had the Neil episode that kind of focused on him and gave him his spotlight. This one I felt like it really was the KB episode. She
Hmm.
had the coordinates for At-Atten, and we got to see how her servos work and like the mechanisms, and then also we got to. It was almost like a metaphor when her head opened up. We got to get a picture of her psyche and her
Hmm.
psychological, like what was going on. She revealed her vulnerabilities and how she feels like the only friend that she has is Fern. And I really liked that, the emotional depth, because like a lot of people say this is a kids show, but I reiterate that it is an adult show with kids at the forefront. Like the child actors are like the main protagonists, but I don't think it's necessarily made for children. Like it's a kid. Like there are things that children are. It's just not. it's going to be above their
Right,
heads, right? Like,
and there's a difference between exclusively for kids and kid accessible, which
yes.
Star Wars has always been kid accessible. I mean, the MCU is kid accessible. Obviously, it's they're telling adult stories, but it's still accessible to the kids because when did we first watch Star Wars? When we were kids, so it's obviously accessible to that audience, and obviously, we've seen some Star Wars content as of late, with Young Jedi Adventures that's more geared towards the younger audience. But I think it's still adult accessible. I think any adult could glean something from that. I mean, my son this week we well half of it saw half of Mufasa, the new Disney movie, and he's been watching The Lion Guard, and I watched a really funny sequence that where they sing a version of 12 Days of Christmas, and I still got something out of it. And I think that it's not like I think what's been successful about Skeleton Crew is, as we've said, as you and I have said, Star Wars has painted kids in a very in a box in a very specific kind of way. You have Luke Skywalker whining, I want to go to Tashi Station pick up some power converters, and um, Jake Lloyd's performance. I don't think was entirely his fault, but also the way children in Star Wars have been written has not been great, and I think Skeleton Crew has been a breath of fresh air in that regard. uh,
100%.
and where these kids feel like kids, like they're going through things. Wim in the first episode wanting more out of his life, wanting to do something fun with his life than just go to school, wanting to do something more. And that's what Star Wars has always been about, is searching for that something more. There's no line in Star Wars that I think is more poignant than in The Force Awakens, when Maz Kanata says, "Your journey is not behind you; it is ahead."
Mm.
And Wim's been going through that kid journey, but then realizing, hey, I'm over my head here. Like, this is not what I wanted, and that's a kid emotion. And for them to be fighting in this episode, that's a kid emotion. So seeing the kids go through these kid like emotions, but it's not at the expense of them, it's not at the expense of the story. Both are being enriched on a greater level, and that's what I think the strength of the show is. I mean,
Yes.
it's not cheapening the message of Star Wars. It's not cheapening the message of the mystery of the story. Um, and for my money, I mean, we're recording this on January 1st. The best Star Wars show that we've had in 2024. And we had some good ones. We had Bad Batch. We had, that was this year, wasn't it? That was bad. Yeah, that was this year. We had Bad Batch. We had what else did we have this year?
Um,
We had
Acolyte.
the Acolyte,
Hmm.
and really good stuff. I mean, obviously, there were some issues with those series. With the Acolyte, the storytelling not that great in some points, but great in others. Um, and the same with the Bad Batch. Like at some points it felt like we were retreading ground, but there were also some ways that we were moving forward. But I really feel like that Skeleton Crew has been solid from the jump and has been solid continually. I've read some reviews that have said, like, "Oh, the pacing is slow this week. The pacing is slow this week." I've not felt that at all.
No.
Um, and I feel like that. As opposed to the Acolyte, we've had I'm talking a lot today. As with the Acolyte, it was just like it just ended, and we're like, okay, I guess that's the end of the episode. All right. Whereas this, like, there's a definitive button on every single episode, even when we knew we were getting one within minutes. It was like it had a nice button on the end of it, and that's how you end TV. You know where you're going to end, and you feel that it's going to end, and it ends the way it should be, not where you feel like, okay, I feel like that this cut
Right.
at like the
It
wrong
feels
point.
artificial, and
Yeah.
this one, it feels more natural, organic. I really like the one last week. I thought was like one of the best that they've done, with the lightsaber going the wrong way, and then
Uh-huh.
Jod igniting it off camera, off screen, and I really want to see what's going to happen. Like I said, 7 might be my most anticipated episode
I
because
hope it lives up to it. I hope it lives up
oh,
to
I
it.
need to I
That's
need to pull my expectations down.
that's going to be what we say at the top of the show next week. Is will it live up to Vactor's expectations? And that's what we're all going to be wondering: is if episode 7 lives up to Vactor's expectations.
Yes. So tune in next week here on Trust in the Force as we talk more Skeleton Crew. We're going to be talking about that most anticipated episode 7 coming up. But I also wanted to tease something that we have coming up as well. Tim, what do we got in store for the listeners and for the viewers?
Well, it like I said, we're recording this January 1st, 2025. So obviously we've had a year of Star Wars. Um, and we're gonna be talking about what we've loved this year, what we've maybe not liked as much, and just downright did not like in this year of Star Wars. And also what we're looking forward to going into this year, because we've got Andor, we've got lots of books,
Oh,
lots of
man.
comics, things like that. Is Tim looking forward to Andor season 2? That's the real question. Uh,
Oh,
we're going to answer that next week.
woo.
So look forward to it.
Yes. So I can't wait. And I hope that you can't wait as well. We would always be honored to see you here, have you in the comments section. If you had thoughts on this episode, episode 6 of Skeleton Crew, let us know what you thought in the comments down below. We're also going to be having our, as Tim said, our year in review and then our year ahead episode. So be stay tuned for that episode as well as some more great goodness that we got coming down the line even after Skeleton Crew. We've got some stuff cooking for you. So stay tuned here on Trust in the Force. We would be honored if you would join us.
Trust only.